Hello and welcome. You're watching FII. I am Sonal Mehrotra Kapoor. Now this is dengue season. We know a lot of people around us who have gotten bit by the mosquito. We also hear more and more about how this time around in this season dengue seems to be much worse. And it's not just what happened in UP, for example, but even the cases emerging out of Delhi, NCR, in fact out of 11 states. The government is really concerned about not just the dengue as we knew it, but the new variants of dengue as they are emerging. Now, through the course of the pandemic, there are so many variants that we talked about. You know the basics over there. So we thought let's sort of dive into and explain to you what exactly are these dengue variants, what are the symptoms you need to be careful about, and then what is it that you can do. So let's get into our explainer. So what are these dengue serotypes? Now the virus of the same species that are different as well. Now we've talked about variants, like I said, when it comes to COVID-19. So this is going to be slightly simpler to understand. Precisely, there are 4 that we really need to look into. DNV 1, 2, 3 and then 4. Dengue can potentially strike 4 times, remember, and this basically means that one strain provides lifetime immunity against only that strain. So you can get dengue again with the other 3 that are being talked about, and that is what we know so far. There might be new emerging as time goes on as well. There is still possible to be infected with the remaining 3 strains, like I said. Serotype DENV2 currently predominant in India, said to be more dangerous as well, more pathogenic as well. And the second attack, the thing to remember with DNV2 is that the second attack is said to be more dangerous. So we have to be very careful of reinfection when it comes to dengue. Also, a bad spell of the type 2 can lead to a dengue shock syndrome as well. Now, dengue as we know it is not lethal. It leads to hospitalization in worst cases, but you do recover at the right time if you get intervention of various medicines, etc. But there are now more and more cases emerging of how people, there has been lethal as well. So what is that you need to be careful about is what we'll discuss. Let's go to the next set of graphics where we talk about this particular variant, the second type of dengue variant. It is more dangerous than the other variants around. It spreads faster. It is associated with severe symptoms and even death. It was detected first in Kerala in 2017, and since then, especially this year around, we've seen more and more cases of this type 2 type. Alright, but why exactly is it more dangerous? Because most important, mosquitoes spread. This is a viral disease, remember. Major international public health concerns have been raised around this. Now this disease, dengue, mostly found in tropical, subtropical climates, and it is mostly prevalent in urban, semi-urban areas as well. So all of us need to be very careful about this particular type of variant of dengue. Symptoms slightly different from what you generally see in dengue when it comes to the second type. There are going to be joint pains. There will be lower platelet count that goes across the board really. Continuous vomiting, abdominal pain, high grade of fever, weak pulse, restlessness, confusion, irritability, cold and sort of clammy skin, bleeding gums and noses. This is something particular to type 2 or the second type of dengue variant that we're talking about, and pain behind the eyes as well. Those are some of the symptoms very, very peculiar to DENV2. So be very watchful and cautious about that. Also possible complications that can actually lead to a more, like we said, you can lose life with dengue. That is the new phenomena that we are talking about, especially what we've seen in UP with kids as well. In UP, again talking about that, the DHF was seen as a severe form. DSS, that's a dengue shock syndrome as well, that has been seen. We'll talk in detail about this during the course of the program as well. But having understood that, having understood what actually is DENV2 and why exactly said to be more lethal, more dangerous than the other variants at this point, let's also tell you the causes of the dengue fever. Transmitted mostly through mosquito bites, mainly by the the breed that comes in, and this also this mosquito breeds in clean and artificial water accumulation around the house, all your little plants in the house, coolers as well seen as one of the major reasons where water accumulates in your pots as well. So anywhere where clean water is accumulating, ensure that you are constantly changing it. That's the only way you can prevent dengue and the mosquito of dengue from breeding. Now, remember in the beginning of the program, we talked about how this is not just a Delhi-centric or a UP-centric problem. 11 states now in the grip of this new, more dangerous dengue. This includes states like Andhra Pradesh, Gujarat, Karnataka, Kerala, Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, Maharashtra, Orissa, Rajasthan, Tamil Nadu and Telangana as well. That's how widespread as of this moment, according to government's own estimates, only dengue and this more dangerous form of dengue is. Now, we talked about symptoms of dengue earlier, but I wanted to sort of talk about the dengue symptoms in the atmosphere and the world of COVID-19 that we live in. What is happening at this point, a lot of doctors are reporting also, is that patients are coming to them very late, and patients also not being able to detect whether or not it is dengue. So we thought we'll break it down for you, COVID-19 versus dengue. What exactly are the similarities over there when it comes to symptoms, and where exactly are some of the differences as well. Now, this is a chart. Please take a picture of that, keep it with you, circulate amongst your family and friends as well to understand the difference, and perhaps not so much the difference between dengue and COVID-19 symptoms in this at this time of the year. Fever both have, fatigue both have, muscle pain also seen, dry cough sometimes seen in dengue, breathlessness also sometimes seen in dengue. Apart from that, headache mostly in both, rashes mostly in both, sore throat sometimes in dengue. Sometimes when COVID-19 also gives you chills, but mostly it is the case with dengue. When it comes to diarrhea, that is a clear sign wherein there is none seen in during dengue, but definitely in COVID-19. So ensure there is no overlap over there, and mild bleeding sometimes seen in dengue as well. So like I said, very similar patterns and symptoms over there, thus making it even more difficult for the doctors to detect at this point what exactly is it that you have, right? So that's more important. In fact, that makes it even more important for us to understand where exactly dengue lies and where is COVID-19. There has been a lot of overlap with people's second dose and the dengue season as well. So people initially, when the fever set in, they thought it is just the reaction of the second dose, but it wasn't quite like. So very, very important for you to know these symptoms. Apart from that, what exactly is the extreme effect of dengue and why you need to be careful? Let's sort of delve into that with our panel now. Dr. Tripti Gilada is with us back on FII. Very glad to have you back. Dr. Tripti, we have Dr. Ved Prakash with us, joining us from Lucknow, Dr. Suresh Kumar from LNJP Hospital in the National Capital, and Dr. Seema Dheer as well from Miss Hospital. Hello to all of you. Let me begin with Dr. Tripti over there. Dr. Tripti, could you explain to us, dengue so far as we understood was something which was not lethal. It would not take away your life. It is something if detected at the right time and given the right medication, one would not really lose life. That seems to be changing. The spread of this mosquito also and the virus seems to be changing as well. What is it that we need to be careful about now, especially keeping that we're still living with COVID?
So Sonal beautifully described the entire presentation on dengue. So what we all need to understand is that there are two kinds of dengue infection. There's a primary infection where you get infected with that particular dengue serotype for the first time. And when that happens, the individual gets almost lifelong immunity to that particular serotype. But the immunity to a second infection by another serotype is only partial and temporary. So if the second infection that someone gets with especially dengue serotype 2 is when it can be more severe than the other serotypes. And even within dengue serotype 2, there are certain serotypes that are more, or certain variants which are more virulent than the others. And this year in particular, the variant is more severe. And this, in all viral infection, that's always a trend where every few years the variant becomes more virulent, more severe, and then it calms down for a few years and comes back again. And that's the reason why the more virulent variant of dengue type 2 is responsible for more severe infections that we are seeing, and especially more in children, which is true across the board. Dengue severe infections are always more common in children because as adults grow up, they acquire immunity to every variant as they go along. But in kids, they probably have had immunity only to one of the serotypes, and if the second attack happens to be dengue type 2, this specific virulent variant, it just tends to be more severe.
I see. So what exactly is the solution then? First, let me get to Dr. Prakash on his thoughts on what exactly is the scene in UP to start with. Dr. Prakash, Lucknow, Kannauj area has seen terrible numbers. We've been getting reports of how there are kids waiting in line and their number is 700, 800 because that's the number of people who are sitting outside clinics right now waiting to be seen for fever, etc. This hasn't gone anywhere and, sadly not getting enough attention as well in mainstream media. So to kids especially, what are some of the precautions one must keep in mind?
Yeah, Sonal, definitely the numbers are rising and the cause of concern is the serotype D2, as the previous speakers you have also beautifully explained about the DNB2. That is the concern nowadays, and this is the virus which spreads fast with the mosquito. It is spreading fast and threatening. And this is the something like to the children, as previous speaker was beautifully explained about the immunogenicity, which develops in due course of the time when we have the variants. This is something like D1, D2, D3, D4 variants, and the children may not be, suffered from all the variants. Rather, the adults has been in the due course of the lifetime, they get the infection with the different variants. So they may get the immunogenicity to all the variants. So this is the more about the children.
Dr. Prakash, can you talk to us a little bit about then what should kids be doing at this point? Of course, in a previous program we've talked about how ensure that they're wearing full sleeves. It gets a little more difficult to ensure that kids, because they're just dying to go outdoors now, especially after the 2 years that we've had. It's very difficult to sort of ensure that they stay prevented from any sort of mosquito bite. Parents are being very cautious, and we really hope after seeing this program they up their guard again. But is there a vaccine preventive measure that can be taken medically when it comes to dengue, especially in this type 2?
Yes, Sonal, definitely. But in our country, the vaccination program is still not here with us for the dengue virus. But in some countries, there are options for these vaccinations. But amid this time, the cases are rising, and this is the main concern. And it is amid the COVID crisis. And you have also explained about the overlap of the symptoms of COVID and dengue. So this is again the double, I can say double trouble. This is double trouble. We are facing the pandemic with COVID-19 and the dengue, and there are many symptoms are similar. So this is the causing the threat, and we face that, and we are failed to discriminate between two, and when
I can understand it must be a very challenging time for the doctors as well to be looking into all of these, and that's why it's very important to get this information out there and for people to know and to be aware about all of this as well. Let me bring in Dr. Dheer at this point. Dr. Dheer, then we've talked about the extreme impact of dengue, the dengue shock syndrome. Could you tell us in simple terms perhaps what this is?
Dengue shock syndrome basically is a condition where capillary leakage sets in patients. So what happens is that the blood, the plasma from the vessels, it actually leaks outside. So the fluid collects either into the abdominal cavity or outside in the pleural space. Because of this, the blood pressure of the patient goes down, and the blood pressure is going down. The patient may feel breathless because the fluid is outside in the pleural cavity. There is abdominal distension. So he may feel, hyperemia in the vessels. He will be nausea, vomiting, restless, lethargic. And once the blood pressure starts falling down, then that is when the organs kind of start packing up, in the sense that they are not receiving enough blood supply. So the liver function can get deranged. The kidneys can start not responding well. This puts another pressure on the heart. There can be myocarditis as well. So once the blood pressure starts falling, the patient becomes more toxic. He requires support for all the other organ systems, and this can be potentially, ICU admission, fatal. But I would like to add that this is rare, and this happens in just about 1% of 100 patients that we see. So it's a rare complication. We don't see it very often, and if patients report at the right time, are cautious about their symptoms, if they are really feeling unwell, then just report to the hospital. I don't anticipate these problems to happen very often.
That's a good clarification to get. But what we saw in UP, perhaps, that was DHF. That we also thought was uncommon, but look at the spread that it has had in that area, going trans-border now from UP to Bihar and other places as well. We'll talk about that on the other side of this very quick break. Stay tuned. You're watching FYI.
Brought to you by Kia Seltos X-Line, badass by design.
The top-ranked Amity BTech attracts some of the most brilliant students of India who have filed over 100 patents and written 2,000 Scopus papers at undergrad level itself. To apply for Amity's fully online admission process, visit amity.edu.
सोचे तो आप खुद से कहीं ज्यादा अपनी फैमिली के लिए एक भरोसे का साथ है,
और कैसे भी समय में आपके भरोसे के साथ है मैक्स लाइफ इंश्योरेंस का 99.35% क्लेम्स पेड रेशियो, इंडिया के भरोसे का नंबर मैक्स लाइफ इंश्योरेंस।
जब हीरो विलेन दिखने लगे तो समझो नई टीवी की जरूरत है।
पर नया टीवी बजट में कैसे आएगा?
जब सीरियल किश्तों में देखते हैं तो पेमेंट भी छोटी किश्तों में हो जाएगी, बिना किसी एक्स्ट्रा चार्ज के।
खोलिए खुशियों के डिब्बे और पाइए अपने डेबिट और क्रेडिट कार्ड पर नो कॉस्ट EMI और बैंक डिस्काउंट भी। Amazon ग्रेट इंडियन फेस्टिवल 4 अक्टूबर से।
इसे कोचिंग से निकाला, सोचिंग में डाला। टॉपर के लाइव क्लासेस, अडैप्टिव प्रैक्टिस और आस्क डाउट से स्टूडेंट्स की सोचिंग बढ़े, तभी तो वो टॉपर बने।
टॉपर, बेटर लर्निंग, बेटर रिजल्ट्स।
आज से ठीक 100 साल पहले मुफलिसी की बेड़ियों में जकड़े गरीब प्रतिभावान आदिवासी छात्र मरांगोम के जयपाल सिंह मुंडा ने रांची के सेंट पॉल स्कूल से ऑक्सफोर्ड यूनिवर्सिटी के सेंट जॉन्स कॉलेज तक का सफर तय किया, और फिर उन्होंने वो कर दिखाया जो मिसाल बन गया। अब ठीक 100 साल बाद इतिहास दोहराया जा रहा है। सुविधाओं से वंचित झारखंड के 6 प्रतिभावान आदिवासी छात्र छात्राएं जयपाल सिंह मुंडा की विरासत को रोशन करने इंग्लैंड और आयरलैंड की यूनिवर्सिटी में उच्च स्तर शिक्षा के लिए जा रहे हैं। झारखंड के युवा प्रगतिशील आदिवासी मुख्यमंत्री हेमंत सोरेन ने गरीब आदिवासी छात्रों के दर्द को महसूस किया। अब इनके जैसे हजारों होनहार छात्रों में उम्मीद की किरण जगी है।
मैं झारखंड सरकार का बहुत आभारी हूँ। It's really inspiring for the youth.
नरम गरम टेस्टी रोटियां, मन ललचा जाता है जब सिल्वर कॉइन का नाम आता है। मध्य प्रदेश के चुनिंदा सोने जैसे गेहूं से बना सिल्वर कॉइन चक्की फ्रेश आटा, हर रोटी ताकत भरी।
Sevagram in Maharashtra. Mahatma Gandhi came here when he was 67 years old. But in the 13 years that followed, Sevagram would shape up much of India's politics and sociology. Gandhiji had left Sabarmati Ashram in 1930 on the salt satyagraha. He decided not to return until India achieved independence. That's when Jamnalal Bajaj offered him 300 acres of land. The area was Shigaon on the outskirts of Wardha. It is the place where Mahatma Gandhi put into practice his experiments with social reform, breaking caste barriers and promoting self-reliance and khadi. Gandhiji lived here simply, like the millions of poor whose upliftment was the mission of his life.
Welcome back. We're talking about dengue and its variants being seen, especially in this COVID season. Let me go back to Dr. Tripti Gilada for more. Doctor, so far what we've concluded is know the symptoms early, get to a doctor before it gets too late so that you don't need very high, you don't get to them in a worse off situation, and know the difference between the symptoms of dengue and COVID as well. What I want to understand then is, and correct me if I'm wrong, the symptoms of dengue actually sets in on the 6th day, is that correct? And if yes, then how does, what is the first, call to do really? Just call up your doctor, or is there some prevention, etc., that can be done at home as well?
So what happens is when the fever actually starts, it's very difficult to say, or it's impossible to say for a clinician clinically or the patient whether this is a primary episode of dengue or a secondary episode. So the first few days there will be fever with headache, body ache, pain behind the eyes, some joint pain and backache, and the fever will start resolving. In a primary dengue, that's the end of the illness. But in secondary dengue, that is the most tricky part. The transition when the fever is starting to subside is when the severe dengue actually sets in. So during this period of fever subsiding, if there is any sign of vomiting, rash, abdominal pain, or just breathlessness, this is the time when they should definitely consult the doctor and not think that the fever has subsided so the patient is improving. And I think that is what goes wrong, is you start thinking that the fever is gone, the patient is improving. And even in the earlier, when there is fever, and that is true across the board for any fever, is what really important is to ensure good hydration. So drinking plenty of water is important, because that's exactly what goes wrong in dengue, severe dengue or dengue shock syndrome as it was called earlier, is that the BP stops falling and the organs that need that adequate blood supply stop or start receiving it in lesser quantities. So ensuring adequate hydration and going to your doctor as soon as you think that something is wrong is most important.
Right. And Dr. Theer, then tell us, is there some medicine one should stay away from? Is a paracetamol a go-to? Suppose this is a season, dengue and COVID are both in the air. If you get fever, what is the first thing you take? Do you take a paracetamol, or have we learned from COVID enough to say that you jump to an antibiotic straight up?
No. See, dengue is a viral illness. So viral illnesses do not need an antibiotic. What dengue just needs is good antipyretics and hydration. In antipyretics, just Crocin, paracetamol, Dolo, nothing beyond that. In fact, sometimes patients, the fever does not come down with Crocin. Don't worry, repeat your Crocin every 6 hours. Do pole sponging, tepid sponging, increase your fluid, sit in an AC room, take a bath. But don't go to Combiflams or Brufens. That is not to be taken. In fact, that can worsen platelet function. That should be avoided.
Stay away from Combiflams and Brufens is what you're saying, yeah?
Yes, definitely. Only Crocins and Calpol, Dolo, paracetamol, basically, yes.
All right, and let your doctors run some tests on you, and then you know what is to be done. Last few seconds, really, I just want to concentrate more on the type which was seen in UP, and we've been talking about that for a while now. DHF. Dr. Gilada, do you want to sort of lay some light on how is it that we've ended up losing so many lives when it came to DSH in UP?
So in dengue secondary infection, what is really saves life is getting to a healthcare provider early. Because if we can actually diagnose that this is dengue, which is starting to have some complications, then we just manage it in the hospital. And getting to a healthcare center early diagnosis and then the required treatment is what actually saves lives. So we really need to increase the awareness that every fever is not COVID. There are other illnesses that we need to think about, malaria, dengue. And once we test for COVID, I think we just stop there, forgetting that there are all these illnesses, especially in the monsoon times, that are killers.
Last question really, and if Dr. Dheer can actually take that, the influenza vaccine we spoke about a couple of days ago, does that have any cover on dengue at all?
Which vaccine? COVID vaccine?
No, the influenza vaccine.
No, influenza vaccine will have absolutely no cover for dengue. No.
There are cover for H1N1, but not for dengue.
Influenza is a respiratory infection, while dengue is a mosquito-borne infection. Just no similarity.
No relation over there. Okay. All right. Good to know that. Thank you all. That's sadly all the time we have, but lots of important clarifications there coming in, and I hope you heard that very, very carefully. And if you lost out on something, you can always go to our YouTube channel and watch the program one more time. Thanks so much for joining. That's it on FYI. Bye-bye.